Good day and welcome to another exciting episode of WEDCOnomics, brought to you by Wentworth Economic Development Corporation, which I am the executive director. My name is Jack Terrill, and we like to get together and talk small business here in the Eastern Lakes region. We're able to do that courtesy of Wolfeboro Community TV, a nonprofit that brings you all the local programming. And they do accept financial gifts, so keep Wolfeboro Community TV in mind when you're doing your annual giving. It's well worth it. It's very important service to the community, and we're thankful that we can do what we're doing, and very reasonably, and get our message out to the community in general. So thanks for joining. I'd like to introduce Dr. Amanda Flagg. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Jack.
Dr. Amanda Flagg has started the Veterinary Urgent Care of New Hampshire.
Yes.
So she's a doctor because she's a vet. And we're labeling this episode Pet Whisperer. Amanda, again, welcome. Amanda is a client of WEDCO.
Yes,
and
we are.
We're very proud to have been a part of the machinery that allows somebody to go from employee to employer.
Yes.
And down the path of wealth creation. That's why WEDCO is here. Generally, we'll go where banks may not want to go, or we'll partner with banks to get us to a new and exciting business, small business here in the Eastern Lakes region. So, congratulations on your startup.
Thank you. We're very thankful to WEDCO for how much they made this possible.
Yeah, that was really exciting. Amanda purchased a building that was a vet hospital and had sat idle since
July
COVID.
of 2020.
July of 2020, it sat idle. It was in West Ossipee, right off of Route 16. And boy, when news got out that it was going to reopen again as a vet hospital, people were truly excited. It was clearly a service that was much needed in the area.
Yes.
And so, again, we were thrilled to be a part of that. I want to go back a little bit, Amanda.
Okay.
And so my first question to you is, when did you realize that you wanted to become a veterinarian?
This is a question I'm asked not super often, but often enough, and most people are a little surprised because my answer is not what everyone else's answer is most people have wanted to be a vet since they were toddlers. I have a toddler that I think is well on her way to doing the same thing. But I actually thought that I was going to go to pharmacy school, and I decided that that was going to be the path for me, but I picked that in an odd way too. I was working at a vet clinic, but I was working as a receptionist.
At what age?
Oh, I had just graduated high school.
Okay.
So I was working there as a receptionist when I
In
was...
this area or
No,
somewhere else?
in North Carolina.
North Carolina?
Yes, in a very, very rural area of North
Thought
Carolina.
I heard an accent.
I'm from Massachusetts, Jack.
No, that's the real accent.
I worked there as a receptionist for a while and thought, I don't think I can do surgeries and stuff like that, but I can handle these medications and figuring out what goes with what you can't mix. And I kind of pursued that for most of my undergrad. And then it occurred to me I should probably shadow a pharmacist before I take that plunge. I did that for one day and said, absolutely not. This is not going to work for me.
Is that right?
Yes, I realized that. I feel like those poor guys spend more time dealing with insurance companies than they do anything else, and that is not what I wanted to do. And
Wow.
I knew veterinary medicine was going to be something where there was something different every day. And I'd gotten more comfortable after I graduated undergrad. I started to be a technician under just training, and I started realizing I think I could actually maybe do this. And I applied to vet school, and at that point I was the practice manager there, so I'd also filled every role in a vet clinic other than being the doctor. So
you're at the vet this clinic, and you're also going to school.
So at that point, yes, I was doing my undergrad while working at 2 different vet practices. Once I graduated my undergrad, I was solely at one practice and stayed there, so I had kind of a gap year before I went to vet school and got a lot more experience working at a vet clinic.
So when you graduated undergrad, what was that degree in?
Biology.
See?
And but the funny thing is, I've never really told myself that I enjoyed science. I've always been a math or an English person, so I'm not really sure how I went down the path of a biology degree, but that's where it got me to vet school.
Okay, so
I told you it was not the most...
well, first of all, so it wasn't really till high school, or the end of high school,
Yep.
where you started to even entertain the idea.
Oh, yeah. I was going to college with no idea what I was going to do. I thought I was going to be a math teacher.
So you were working at the vet because it was a job that gave you income, not because it was a lifelong ambition.
Nope.
The value of different experiences in your life.
Yes,
right?
for sure.
And I think what you're saying about the shadowing at a pharmacy really opened your eyes as to what a particular industry or a particular area is really like.
Yes. So, I mean, I think for anybody trying to pursue any kind of job really should really try to spend some time in some capacity doing some shadowing before committing their lives to doing that. Because I will say, now that I'm here and I love it, but it would be very difficult for me to be able to just back out of vet med and just decide I actually don't want to do this anymore, because I have too many student loans to do that.
But you wouldn't do that anyway because you love what you do.
I actually do very much love what I do.
So you got accepted to vet school.
Yes.
And this is a successful completion of this process makes you a doctor?
Yes. So
of
once
veterinarian medicine?
Technically, yes, you can finish your degree and graduate school with your degree, but you have to pass the board exam to actually be able to practice medicine.
So there's a board exam, just as there is for lawyers or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes. So any professional degree, you have to pass a board exam at the end of that time period before you can actually do any kind of practicing.
So is there an internship period for vets?
It's optional. So a lot of people, I would say probably almost 50% of my class of 102 of us, I believe, went on to do some sort of internship after, because it's not the greatest to have you actually ready to practice medicine. You've learned more than you can ever imagine you've learned, but you don't have a lot of hands-on time with cases and stuff. And when you graduate, you realize, oh, I'm supposed to go out here and, be able to do surgeries and be able to figure out what's wrong with an animal. And I'm not actually sure that I know how to do that.
Yeah, well, surgeries are, there's one thing about, okay, here's medicine for the next month. It's a whole nother thing when you're slicing open a beloved pet.
Sure is. There's a lot more stress to that part of things.
Yeah.
And at that time, just in my personal life, there was no capacity for me to go on to do an internship, and I was also ready to be back in New England, very much.
So where was this school that you...
I went to North Carolina State.
So you passed the North Carolina board?
So technically there's a national board, and then if you're going to practice in North Carolina, you have to pass their state board exam too. But it's a much more just specific questions about. I would kind of compare it to like your written portion of driver's ed. You're basically talking about the laws that you need to know for that specific state. So whenever you're going to practice in a different state, like right now, I couldn't go down to Massachusetts and just say, hey, I'm here to be a vet here. I'd have to pass the state board exam there to be able to get a license there too.
But you passed the national board.
I passed the national board.
Is there a
Thank God.
exam? Yeah, that would have been a waste of 3 or 4 years.
Just a bit.
Is there a board, an exam for New Hampshire?
There is, yes.
Yeah, and so obviously you passed that.
Yes.
So you joined a practice?
I did. So my first practice out of school was a general practice in North Conway.
Are you sought after, or is that a field that's easy to get into?
So it's definitely been evolving drastically, I'd say, in the last decade. So I graduated in 2017. I had, I think, 4 job offers. At that time, we were starting down the downward slope of there being a big need for vets, which is now much worse. So right now, if you graduate vet school, you have your choice of jobs anywhere. And you can kind of name, to a degree, what you want your terms to be. You can fight pretty hard on what you think your pay should be, your work schedule should be, because right now there's such a drastic shortage.
Is there really?
Yes.
Is that because there's an increase of pets or a decrease in interest of going into that field?
The latter. There is definitely, in particular areas, there is definitely, in our areas, one that with COVID, we definitely had an influx of people adopting pets and people just moving up here. So we had a lot more pets in our area, but there's definitely a significant decrease in people's interest to go into vet med, or a lot of people being ready to be out of vet med. A lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you joined a practice, and you're becoming comfortable with the ways of vet med, and you've performed a surgery or 2.
That's optimistic, Jack. That's actually one of the reasons why I ended up wanting to leave that practice, because I knew I wasn't going to get good at being confident in my surgery skills. I had a wonderful mentor, but she was very nervous about allowing anyone else to do surgery. So
you can understand that.
Right. You know, especially when someone's coming out after just graduating, they all know how many surgeries we did in vet school. It's not many, and you're doing it with, senior clinicians standing with you. So the stakes are low. So I realized that if I was going to ever get good at doing any kind of surgeries or handling anything else, I needed to do something else. So I started doing relief shifts at an emergency practice, and then I realized I actually kind of love this. Even though in vet school, there's rotations you can take in your 4th year and decide whether or not you want to, what your focus you want to be. I steered from emergency every turn I could take. I was like, nope, don't need any of that. I have no interest in doing emergency. We'll never do it. Absolutely not. I don't need to know any of that stuff. I regret that now.
Yeah.
But I've certainly learned so much along the way. So then I ended up, within a few months of starting to do a couple relief shifts there, I realized this is where I'm going to be able to push myself into doing a surgery after watching another doctor do it once. She helped me do one once, and then I do it by myself. And that's the way I got good at doing really every surgery that I do now, is watch one, help with one, and then do one.
So you're very involved, very deep in, but you're still working for another practice, somebody else's practice. At what point did you think about, hey, maybe I want my own practice?
So I actually thought that before I was even out of vet school. It's actually even before I went into vet school. I actually really just knew, part of me was like, kind of think I'm going to feel like I would enjoy being a practice owner more than being the doctor. Turns out that's not true. My practice manager is my best friend. She can handle all of that stuff. I very much enjoy being the doctor now. But I really knew that I wanted to own my own business and run my own business. For the first 4-ish years at the emergency clinic I worked at, we were privately owned, but then we were purchased by a corporation. Mm-hmm. That, in addition to really just how much there was a need on this side of the lake in this area, really pushed me into, I really think I should think about opening an urgent care in this area. And urgent cares in vet med, I feel like, are just now starting to really flourish. It's not something that was common. It was either your general practice or emergency practices. There wasn't really an in-between. And this leaves it open to, I can see you the same day, and if it's something that you need to stay overnight or something, then I can refer you to a 24-hour facility that can keep you for as long as your pet needs to stay there. But it alleviates a lot of the stress that's put on the general practices that just don't have appointments available to see all of the urgently needed things to be seen. And may not have the capability to perform surgery the same day or anything like that because their schedule's already completely full. So that's kind of how I decided I wanted to own my own business.
But it was very early on. You were in school.
Yes.
What were some of the things that you did that helped prepare you to be an owner of a practice, to be a business owner? Because there's a lot more to being a business owner than just performing surgery on the pets.
For sure there is.
So what sort of path did you follow that prepared you for that step? Because
that also kind of fell back into vet school. They finally started realizing that they didn't really prepare anyone to be a business owner in vet school.
I wouldn't think they would.
No, that was not remotely part of the curriculum. It's becoming a lot more part of the curriculum. In the time I was there, it was more of an elective thing. So anything business related that was an elective for me to take, I took that. I was part of business clubs. Anything that I could do that would give me more knowledge on how to actually run a vet clinic.
You joined business clubs?
Yeah, I sure did.
Make a note.
Gotta join the business clubs. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, I've also heard of some that have gone back and gotten an MBA.
Yeah.
And I think those people are definitely very well set up to run some of the really bigger practices. But I
Right.
think for what I have, I think between me and Megan, we certainly have managed our way through.
Yeah, you mentioned how important Megan is to you.
Yeah.
So Megan is the practice business manager,
Yes.
would be the way to put it.
Yes.
Could you do it without her?
No. And she knows that. She lets me know at
Don't
least
let her
once
watch
a
this.
weekend. Oh, she's waiting.
But, so this is, I'll just kind of drag in some WEDCO stuff here. We love financing great ideas, but we won't be able to do the financing unless we know there's a business plan in place.
Right.
And the people there that are able to execute that plan.
Yeah.
Because history is loaded with great ideas that are now on the side of the road because the business piece was lacking.
Right.
And that's so critical.
Right.
So.
And I also think in my preparation for this, the New Hampshire Small Business Association was also key for me to getting a lot of things together that I felt like I was completely in the dark about how to do. Giving projections for the first 2 years of business, I felt like I I don't even know where to begin. And there were things on there that would have never occurred to me to include in a projected profit and loss statement. Like, just those things did not have any idea. But I also think that I also know enough about the climate of vet med in this area and what was needed. And I also did a lot of background research in part of getting, business loan approval to show where we were lacking in this area, and exactly where that practice is basically in the dead set of where there needed to be somewhere for people to bring their pet after hours. So there was a lot of components to how I set up the business plan and how I went about that for making sure I knew that we were going to be successful.
So the New Hampshire Small Business Association,
Yes.
how'd you get connected to them?
It was actually through Megan at Meredith Village Savings Bank. She recommended reaching out to them, and they hooked me up with one of their agents, and I'm completely blanking on her name, which makes me feel terrible because she's amazing. And she helped me through lots of questions that I had, but that was definitely a resource that was extremely beneficial and was wonderful to have at no cost. There was no cost to me getting somebody to throw, this is what I'm thinking I should do, is that right? And then, she's reading my business plan.
Are you talking about the Small Business Development Center?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I was talking about the whole time.
You see, an association, in my mind, you were. There probably should be a small business association where you can have peer-to-peer learning.
Yes, that would be good.
But I'm not sure in my time at Wentworth Economic Development Corporation, I'm not sure we've done a loan for somebody who has not had a relationship with a small business development center.
That's what I meant.
Well, we're getting it clarified now.
We sure are.
But to your point, it was free.
Yes.
And all those things that nobody can be expected to know, such as how to do projections,
yes,
how to write a proper business plan, and the whole purpose of the business plan is getting financial people to say yes to the idea.
Right.
And they won't work without a business plan or a projection.
Right.
I don't care if you're WEDCO or a bank or whoever you are.
Right.
Those pieces were critical, and you recognized that you could use some help.
Yes, oh yes, very quickly on, because I was trying to just Excel spreadsheet my way through it by myself, and I was like, this is not going to be a winning thing, Amanda, if you don't get some help.
No, you're a vet. You're a doctor of vet medicine.
Yes.
I have a hard time saying veterinarian.
Yeah, so do I sometimes.
Vet med. Vet med. Thank you for sharing that experience.
Yeah.
But, this is, hopefully there are people watching that are thinking about starting their own business, and that's why people like you I like to have on, because you actually went from
yes,
employee to employer.
Right.
And it's a huge leap, and if you think you can do it on your own, you're likely mistaken. I mean, there's always the 1 in 100 that just can do it all.
Yes.
But the resources that are out there that are available,
yeah,
should absolutely be accessed.
For sure.
And you would say that not only did you get your loan, but it made it easier to get there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think otherwise I would have been floundering in Google for months trying to figure out how to do it myself, which was where I initially started, which was a terrible idea.
We all flounder in Google.
Yes. Oh, yes. Lots of people.
But that's great. I want to talk about your subjects. I had a pet once, and somehow it was a Bichon poodle.
Mm-hmm.
She, Coco. somehow she knew when we were going.
They know.
When we were going to the vet.
They know. As soon as they pull in that parking lot, they said, "This is not the park. This is baloney."
And just uncomfortable, anxious, unhappy. So that always amazed me.
They know.
Able to get Coco in the car, but like you said, when I pulled in that lot, it was like...
Game over.
Yeah, it was not good.
Nope.
So, what's going on in your minds, Pet Whisperer?
Oh, well, first it depends on the dog. Our labs, they say, "Oh, I'm at the vet. There's going to be people to pet me. This is great.
Oh, yeah?
Everyone's going to love me here. This is so good. I'm going to get snacks. It's going to be fantastic." But they are probably in a little bit of the minority. They are not, I'd say over 50% of our patients are not excited to be there. There's different smells. If they've been there before, they may have recollection of really not liking it, but I think a lot of it comes down to, obviously they smell much better than we do. There's unusual smells, there's unusual sounds, there's people they've never seen before. There is also really, they talk about white coat syndrome in people. It happens in pets too. I don't adhere to that.
Talk to about what?
White coat syndrome. So people will known to see someone in a white coat, and for some people that will actually make their blood pressure go up just from the anxiety.
I know it does mine.
Yeah, mine too. But I think for some pets, it comes down to they're being touched in ways they're not used to being touched. Like if someone's holding them under their belly so they can't run away from us, that's not a normal way for them to be pet and held at home. So they are associating this is something uncomfortable and something unusual. And then you come time to take their temperature. You have to listen to their heart. You're trying to look in their mouths. Those are all things that they're not typically accustomed to. And some dogs are even, let them sniff the stethoscope, doesn't matter. They're still, as soon as you put it on them, they're nervous, they're shaking. Some of them are growling. So there is definitely something to, they know they're at the vet. But I certainly have at least a couple patients every day that I see that the owners will say, they just love nothing more than coming to the vet. They have so many hugs and kisses and they just love it so much. But most of them, and that's just talking about dogs. Cats, that's even more unusual to have a cat that likes to go to the vet. Cats don't like to travel in the car. They don't, yes, they're typically, they like what they like and they don't like anything else. So we mitigate those things as much as we can. I just bought the biggest jar of peanut butter that Hannaford sells. That's usually wins me over a good portion of the time.
Cat?
Not a cat, no. A cat, I honestly, what wins me over with a cat is letting them leave. Saying, goodbye,
So
you're all done.
It's the dogs that like peanut butter?
Dogs love peanut butter, and another one is that fake squeeze cheese. They love that.
Okay, good to know.
So, yep, I can usually distract, I'd say, at least 50% of the nervous dogs with a good swipe of peanut butter on a tongue depressor. Just got to hold on to the tongue depressor good, because sometimes they just want to eat the whole thing. That nearly happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's just, one time I was sitting out in the lobby, Coco's in the examination room, and these horrible screams were coming out of the room, and I'm going, oh my goodness. And the vet came out and said, I haven't even touched her yet.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Sometimes there's just that anticipatory, you're going to do something I don't like, and our office is pretty small, so we have had to warn the entire lobby sometimes that something not bad is about to happen, but it's going to sound very much like we're hurting this dog very, very much.
So what pets do you specialize or do you treat in your practice, and what pets won't you treat?
Oh, let me start with won't I treat. Birds. I will not see birds.
Okay.
Except I've become known as the lady who will see the ducks. So I see ducks an unusual amount of times.
People have ducks for pets?
People have anything for pets, Jack. Anything.
Really?
Anything.
I suppose you get eggs out of the deal.
Yeah. Or just a pet duck that swims around.
Okay. So you will see ducks?
I will see ducks. Sometimes I don't really know.
That is a bird, you know.
It is a bird, but it's the only bird I'm not afraid of.
So you don't want to see a parakeet?
No. Mm-mm.
Because they'll talk outside the office?
That's it. Yes. They're gonna tell everybody.
You don't want to go there.
Yes.
You do not want to go see
Yes.
that lady with the glasses. Mean?
Yes. They will tell everybody. No, I'm actually irrationally afraid of most birds.
Is that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. There are a lot of things in vet school that I had to do that were not on my list of things to enjoy ever in my life.
Well, they were sort
They
of...
flap.
They flap, and they
They
were
have beaks.
predecessors to the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because
So-
I know they'll eat me. Peck my eyes out. That's why I wear glasses.
So
It's
you
not
won't-
for my eyes. It's
You'll
for
do
the
a duck
birds.
because of the rounded bill, but you
That's
won't
it.
do a sharp bill. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Although Megan has convinced me to see a chicken or two from time to time. Not happily, but I've done it.
So you do some two-legged stuff. Do you do any zero-legged stuff? Reptiles?
Nope.
No. So
Amanda has no idea what to do with those
you're going to have
animals.
to bring your boa constrictor somewhere
else. Not here. Not for me. But mostly I see just dogs and cats.
Yeah, is that the
That's the majority, yes.
Yeah.
On case-by-case basis, depending on what may be going on, we are definitely open to talking about seeing something else, depending on what it sounds like could be going on with them. Because a lot of times the medications we have can't be used in a number of species, particularly if they're a meat species, like if they're going to be used for meat or for eggs or something like that. There's a lot of medications that are actually illegal to use in them. Megan does have a full farm, so on the occasion I end up seeing a horse or a donkey or a cow because they're hers.
That's not an office visit. You got to go to them, right?
Yes, typically. We had told somebody once, if you want to haul the goat in, we'll see it. Some goats are small enough to ride in a car.
So you'll see what you can do.
Yes.
What if a squirrel is hurt on the side of the road?
Depends. Most of them, if it looks like the injuries are much too severe, I will certainly humanely euthanize anything that appears to be suffering. Whether or not I'm afraid of it has no bearings on me ending their suffering. So even if it were to be a, huge parrot or something, I would do it. But I would be terrified the whole time. But we have had we had a baby porcupine come in that's mother was completely unaccounted for, hadn't been seen in days. It appeared pretty healthy. We couldn't find anything briefly wrong with it. There's minimal exam to do on a porcupine, without getting yourself very hurt.
There's occupational hazards with
Yes,
what you do.
for sure. So we had that porcupine transferred over to Elaine Connor's Wildlife Center, which is very, very close to us. So
that's good.
we reach out to them if we are in need of something like that. But for the most part, if it is a severe thing, we will certainly humanely euthanize.
Well, listen, we're running out of time, and I could go on with this because I think your universe is a very interesting universe. Not only are you caring for the pet, but pet owners probably aren't the easiest to deal with either. So
Some are wonderful, some are not.
that's people.
Yes,
right?
that's people in general.
Just give me a couple keys that you think are critical to running a successful business.
Well, first, making sure you know what your address is.
Okay.
It's key.
Have we established that? You can give your address if you'd
Our
like.
physical address
That's
is
what people care
2025 New Hampshire Route 16 in West Ossipee. But our
2025.
mailing address is the same, but cenoroscopy. So
That's just an ospy thing.
So I guess the broad of that would be attention to detail, making sure that you have dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's ideally before the business opens.
Right.
Sometimes it's in weeks after.
As many as you can.
Yes, there's always
At some point,
unforeseen.
you got to take the leap.
Yes.
At some point.
Yes.
And nothing's going to be perfect.
No.
Well, look, Dr. Amanda Flagg, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Veterinarian Urgent Care of New Hampshire in West Ossipee on Route 16, 2025, Route 16.
Yep.
Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yes.
And I'm also enjoying watching your really incredible success in this venture.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. That was yet another episode of WEDCOnomics. Appreciate it. And we will see you soon. Thank you.